Hello and welcome to Third Eye Thinkers. I am your host, Michelle Welch.
Hi, I'm your host, Megan Benanti. Thanks for joining us today.
All right, how are you doing today?
I'm good, and you?
I'm getting there.
Yeah. Okay, I feel that way too.
I think we were all talking. Yeah.
We've had a lot of rain, and it's like very cathartic today.
You know, I walked outside and I thought, wow, this is beautiful Texas weather. And then my hair started whipping around and I couldn't find my keys. And then my hair was all in my face.
Yep.
Like cousinette, like it was all just hanging down. And I was like, wow, beautiful Texas weather.
That would be cousinette well maintained because she's really, really blonde and it's like long curls. So yeah, cousinette was a little more homely looking than that.
Okay, so I'm going to go totally off script here. You have got to hear this little story about me being called cousinette. When I had my first baby, okay, so you go in and you decide whether or not you want the drugs and the epidural, and that was before I was into all my crystals, you guys, so please don't judge, but I was like, oh yeah, bring it. I want the epidural, I want the everything, you know.
I did it too.
And I was in pain, and I mean, I could go into it more. I was like, yes, I do know the sex of the baby. No, I don't know about what I'm going to do about feeding. I was just like opposite of everything that was health, you know, that everybody thought you should do. I was like the bad Lamaze student or whatever that's called.
Well, at least I didn't even go to class, so at least you went.
Yeah, at least I went. And so, yeah, but when they got to me, it was horrible. So when it came time to have the epidural, like that's some long needle they stick in your back and you have to lean over.
You looked at it? See, I've never seen what I knew it was long.
They told me, oh, this is going to be a long needle. I'm like, oh yeah, right. You should not have told me that. And so I leaned over, and my husband, the father of my kids, John, he actually was very nice, okay, very nice, but it just came out of his mouth because my hair was going everywhere and I was leaning over. He goes, you look like cousinette. And I was about to, and I was like, not the way to start this process.
Oh, yeah, not in labor? That's a great thing to say while you're in labor. Love
he survived and is doing well. But yeah, I looked like cousinette apparently, and that was today too with the weather and the wind. But it's beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful, but it's been, it's the kind of day you just like want to snuggle in on the sofa with a good book and, you know, light a candle and chill out. So, and have a glass of wine probably too.
Yeah, and play with some crystals and herbs maybe.
Yeah, yeah, or hang with us on the podcast. So.
Exactly. So today we're going to talk about using intuitive insights or using intuitive information to better your business. I'm not sure exactly what we called it, but something like that.
Run a better business with intuitive help.
There you go. That's a great way to put it. So when I started thinking about that, I thought about a bunch of different things because I was thinking, you know, is it something where it also could help you decide which direction to go. I mean, it's a pretty broad topic with your business.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And I have a lot of people come to me for readings. That's probably the number one. That's probably a lot of people will get love readings. They say the broadest topics for doing readings or the most common are love, relationships. I throw that together.
Yep, I do too.
Jobs, finances. I kind of throw that together, although that can be different. But
yes.
And then of course there's health. And I would say those are the three most common, but the health seems to be more, a lot of times, not in the really younger people that come as much. That's not as much a concern unless it's a parent they're worried about or something like that.
Yeah, I tend to think it's either career or love, and those tend to be the two topics. And then health comes up for some people, but not for everyone. So.
And that comes up a lot more with your energy work and things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when it comes to the business, it seems to me, those are my favorite to get, my favorite types of reading. People, it's even gotten back that like, oh, you don't like love, you know, you don't like doing love readings. And I'm like, I don't mind them. It's just that when they're coming to you for the 15th time, which I won't let them do, I'll send them to somebody else if they're going to keep, you know, eventually. I mean, if they're asking the same question and they're not, you know, the person keeps coming back around. But as far as business, it seems like people really do want to listen.
Yes.
And really, there's not as much healing around that, maybe, I don't know, as there is around the love, where they're just sometimes are really stuck in a pattern.
Well, I think people are more willing a lot of times to take risk with business than they are with love. Because, we've been burned before. And a lot of times people are doing things for the first time with business, or they have other experience. There's not the fear of failure that there is with love in some regards.
Maybe, yeah. But I love doing the business things about business. Of course, because I'm a lawyer and all that, I always am very clear that, I'm not giving professional legal advice or financial advice or, all the disclaimers. But I do, and that's something I wanted to address, because I do believe you still can get an intuitive reading to help you with some of the choices that you're making and to help clarify some things going on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it was interesting. I wanted to do a little research as well, because I've certainly done some business work for people. I mean, we always touch on career. That always comes up for everyone. But I've specifically done like business readings for different people that have come in and we're dealing with, multiple companies and things like that, and wanted to get a sense of direction for them. And I just wanted to see what was out there online. And it was interesting. When I Googled it, a lot of it came up as how to start a psychic business. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm looking for.
Right.
But who wrote about it? Fortune magazine and Vice.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So they both had articles out there. And that was pretty interesting to me.
What did they have to say?
Okay. Overall,
like in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, and I did just take a few notes. One of my favorite comments was, from Ouija board to boardroom, and it's like we have evolved. There are people out there doing it, and some of the most successful people, even the Hunt family, used psychic guidance. I don't remember which Hunt, you'll have to forgive me, but one of the big oil people in the beginning.
Yeah, there's that family's large, so there's a bunch of different ones. Yeah.
So, and this was just commented. I believe that was in Fortune magazine.
May I interject? Because actually they would use, I don't know if they did, but people would use the dowsing rods, which is kind of like a pendulum back in the day, to find water and also to find oil. So it might have been that way back too,
Right.
They would use those copper dowsing rods, which is really what the pendulum evolved from.
Right.
So.
Well, and, financial crisis is a lot of reason for people to reach out to psychics. Like psychics were booming in the Depression era. And, but one of the things they were saying is that in the 80s, people began to switch from psychology to psychics, and to seek counsel for business or for personal growth, because it was much faster. They get an answer. It's not just, it's not them having to work through it. It's, maybe they work through part of it, but it's also being told insight. And so there's a lot of psychics out there that do really focus on business and the market, and people that have very loyal clients. A lot of them are very, very expensive. Like a newsletter for the weekly newsletter is $550 a week. And but some people have retainers of like $10,000 a month for their counsel and advice, psychic advice. Right. And sometimes, because the word psychic still has some negative connotations, people would refer to them as financial advisors instead of financial psychics.
I'd be hesitant with that, just as an aside, personally, because I think you say you're a financial advisor, and I think that implies some sort of license or to do that or something. But that's just me.
Right. Yeah. So, but it was pretty interesting. They mentioned a lot of really important people out there that have used psychic advisors for financial situations. They also had mentioned in the Vice one that both the University of Cologne and University of Queensland had done some studies, and it said, one of the things it did for people was it raised their confidence and their feelings of control about business. And that alone could play a major part in people moving forward and making decisions. I remember reading one time, it was actually like the first time I ever read for someone. I truly think it was the first time. Mm-hmm. I was meeting my husband's friend at a bar, and he had started a business that had gone public. And I really wasn't sure what I was doing yet, but I was like, oh, there's like some financial troubles and something going on. Well, it turned out this was their first quarter they didn't make. And but it hadn't gone public yet. And so he didn't allude to anything. He just looked at me and goes, "It's your fault." But yeah, it was kind of interesting. So it came up just like that. So.
I love how they said that the Vice, I believe, said it could instill confidence and hope, because you would think some people are so afraid to come to an intuitive or psychic, and they're scared of the worst.
Oh, absolutely.
And they also think it's so set in stone, and that shows you that really, if it can instill hope and confidence, what it's saying is
Right.
you're looking at options.
Right.
You're a lot of times, or at least that's how I read.
And a sense of control, they
Yes,
said.
and in control, because you would think it'd be the opposite. Or a lot of
Right.
people, that don't understand how we read would think it's the opposite. Okay, this is set in stone. What she says is for sure, and this will never change. And my personal belief is that we can look at things and then course correct based on what
Right.
we see.
Well, and
So
all
that
the
does-
psychics I read about said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No,
that.
go ahead.
They all would say things that, this is what I'm seeing, and give the business, the companies, the room to make that decision. So, if they're doing a merger, if they're hiring people. There was one woman, she's on a daily advisory board for hiring new people and stuff, and they call in on a regular basis to throughout the day to see what needs to be done.
Right.
With all
Well,
decisions.
I was thinking that it would be really interesting to do someone's birth card for. I guess you couldn't ask how old they are, though, so you couldn't really do that if you were hiring. But it would be interesting to know if. Yeah, I guess you get your birthday. I don't know, but let's say you could get their year. That would be interesting to know their birth cards if you're hiring them. I think it would also be interesting to know their crystal personality. That's a class that I do. And which,
cool.
Are you a
Yeah.
cubic? Or are you a trigonal? And that would be interesting. There's some different ways that you could do things regarding hiring. Also,
Right.
numerology.
Yeah. Well, she was intuitively reviewing pictures and I guess the resume and stuff.
I think there's all kinds of ways, though, that would be interesting. And
And she channeled.
yeah.
She was any loved ones that had been with them to find out about their work ethic and that kind of thing.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of
But
cool.
I think it's kind of quantifiable, too. If you wanted to show a business that really wanted to see some numbers, you could use numerology. You could use
definitely.
those sorts of things. I've done that for some people, some businesses that actually one that was going public. And so we did numerology on the name. We looked at certain dates, and it really helped.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
I do tend to draw personally a lot of business clients. I don't know if it's because of my background or whatever. And what's interesting, you brought up Monty earlier. If you
Monty Farber.
Monty Farber's going to be on our show probably in December on our podcast.
I hope so.
We're just going to say he is.
Yes.
There you go, Monty.
Yes.
No, and he did readings for us when we were in New York City.
Yep.
And actually, he's an astrologist and an astrologist. And Megan, you had gotten one, and then I was like, oh, I'm copying, I'm getting one too. So we went up and we got them. And it was interesting because do you remember that he said to me that mine was all about knowing what he does? He does a lot of the mergers and the things
Right.
like that, and that kept coming up in my chart over and over and over. And I was just laughing because I was like, but I'm horrible with numbers. And he's like, yes, but you have this business savvy.
Right.
Do you remember that? It
That's
came up
awesome.
over and over, and he kept saying how much of a healer you were. And it was just interesting how to me he was pretty spot on about a lot of things. I'm not sure about me being great with business, but I do get those types of readings a lot.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's the one thing too. It's like we have the ability to really tune in and focus to whatever it is we need to look at, whether it's a person or a business, because that business itself has its own soul. And so that's something we can connect with.
Absolutely. And do you know that a lot of people may not know this, but the Akashic records are pretty much that's where everything is stored, past, present, and future. And if you open the Akashic records, you can actually open the Akashic records of a business.
Oh,
because
perfect.
it has an energy, its own energy, and you can open those Akashic records also. So it's even another way to go about getting that intuitive information. So there's a lot of ways.
Yeah.
As far as, you get a lot of questions, I think. What's my purpose? What do I want to do? Should I start this business? Is this in my purpose, my life purpose? And do you get a lot of those readings?
In some ways, for me, they come up and I'm like, I say what the energy is there. If it's like, hey, this looks like you definitely need to go in this direction, even if I don't know what it is. Or if I see that, hey, you've got some holdups coming in this area, in your career field, it might be time to pause and process a little bit more before you go through it. But I really say, I don't hold back on whatever the energy is that I see flowing around that.
Right. I think aura personalities are also, I just did a class on your aura personality. It's the personality, because our auras change, but it's the personality that you're born with, okay? The aura that's closest to your physical body. And this was a doctor of psychology, I believe her last name is Bauer, Bower, PhD. And it's a very interesting book. It's called Aura Personalities, or My Aura Personality. And I think that also would be a great way in business to determine the way that you pair people in teams. Because you get,
definitely.
Like if you're a lavender, that was like a C.S. Lewis, C.S. Lewis, and then Lewis Carroll. That's Alice in Wonderland, right, Matt? So that would be a great way too, and it's looking at your aura and your aura types.
Very
all kinds.
cool.
It kind of flows over into life coaching a little bit.
Yes, yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it
or
really
business
can.
coaching.
And it also depends on how you phrase it. But our point is, don't be afraid to reach out to a psychic for business counsel, whatever direction you're going with it, whether it's your own business or a job that you're doing. You can even come up with a series of questions, not really yes or no questions, but questions that ask for more information. And that gives a guidance of the direction to go. Because we can give you a lot more available information if it's not a simple yes or no, because that takes it down to a black and white. And you've got your freedom and will to make the decisions. So that's where that black and white comes in, is with the human behavior and your own choice.
Very true.
So
another thing that people ask a lot about is regarding business is time and timing. How much longer does my husband have before he loses his job? Like, they've already decided, he's going to lose his job. How much longer before I should retire? And I think that we can help them rephrase that to what you just said. To what are some things to consider around this matter, as opposed to, I can get time sometimes. A lot of people will say, time, but time is an illusion. Really, it really is.
Yeah, no, I don't
really
believe in
my
time.
life. So,
Yeah.
and Matt,
life.
our producer knows it totally is on this show. So it's an illusion.
Yeah, time is very fluid around here.
Yeah.
So it's very much an illusion. But I think that it could even help if you are wondering for your children and you feel like they don't have a direction. They're, not that they need one by 19, what they're going to do for their whole life. But I do have had some people come in, and I always say, well, if the child's of age, please have them contact me.
Right.
And of age, I'd say 18 or older, to read for them. And that also could give them some direction from having a reading. I think that has actually really helped my daughter. She was sure that she was going to go into, biogenetics, something complicated that I don't even know what you call it. And she was all into genetics. She'd done the Duke TIP program, had taken that and taken college courses and stuff when she was like in 8th grade, and taken disease And then she had a couple of readings, and they just kept pointing out to her how much it was coming up that she loved her mock trial and her debate, and she ended up changing majors. And they had kind of, I will just be honest, one had actually told her, you will change your major before you start. And she's told me that reader was an idiot. She's like, she didn't mince words. She's like, that's a scam. They don't know what they're talking about. And she changed her major right when she got there. She
Oh, wow. That's
decided
great.
she wanted to go for what she was happiest in. So I think it can be used for that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the beginning of a career.
Yeah, we certainly, I mean, that's one thing we look at a lot. I get a lot of young people, so career and the direction of their life. But I find people are always like, I don't know what to do with my life. And it doesn't matter how old they are. They're still feeling like, am I on the right path? Do I do my own thing?
Am I in my life purpose? And I'm
Yes.
like, I think every second of every day is your life purpose.
Absolutely.
So let's just be honest.
Yeah.
You know? It's like each choice that you make, that's your life purpose. That's,
Right.
I mean, are you in it or not? I mean, that probably, honestly, is the third biggest question is, what's my life purpose?
Right. And finding the joy in that every day is the key of what makes a difference in it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting that when you, I will say just for Roger and myself, that when you have the, everybody says pursue your passion. Just make sure that when you pursue your passion, it becomes work, that it stays your passion, because then it is work.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's
very
just
true.
one thing I wanted to throw in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Do you want to go with your plant first today?
Oh, okay.
And
sure.
talk about that?
So my plant for today, I brought Dracaena massangina. And so Dracaenas, that's a pretty large family. And this is known as corn plant because the leaves look kind of like on a corn stalk. And this plant's been around since the 1700s, and I picked it because it's a great indoor office plant. So
It is.
Yep, it's good for business. And anytime you're bringing plants into the home or into a business or office environment, you're increasing your oxygen levels, which is really important. But one of the things we have to think about is our cleaning supplies. And cleaning supplies often contain formaldehyde, and that lingers. And the fact that like buildings are being built better and better, the airflow is getting more kind of trapped inside. And so that formaldehyde smell isn't really draining out. I mean, you think about it, you walk into a clean bathroom, you know they've just cleaned it, you know?
I can tell.
And that's not actually great for you to be taking that in. And so having an indoor house plant or office plant can be really beneficial for you to clean the air. And so massangina was kind of an interesting one. I thought I've got one at home, which I did try to take a picture of, but I broke my phone this morning. And but it grows in the underneath the rainforests in Africa. And so they're used to a lot of shade. So that's part of the reason they do really well inside. I find them to be very low maintenance. You water them about once a week. And they've been indoor houseplants since like the 1700s in Europe.
Wow.
So
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So why are so many of these made in the fake, like plastic or whatever, silk plants? Are they hard to maintain?
Well, sometimes people need plants because they literally have no light. Like if they have a bathroom with no window. I only use real plants in my home, and then I sometimes put them out in the rain because that will wash the dust off.
Okay.
But I do have to watch how much sunlight they might get, how much rain they might get. It's got to be in a pot that drains. I do think it's important energetically to make sure that your plants don't have dust on them, because to me that neglect is also something that's filtering into your environment on kind of a spiritual level there. Right. But yeah, a lot of people use fake plants because they, gives the appearance, but they don't have the time, or they have a black thumb.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking this one in particular, because this one in particular, they seem to copy a lot.
Yeah.
So it's probably just because it's one that's common and it's tall and you
Right.
can sit it in a corner and not have to take care of it. I, too, choose the live plants because it raises the vibration in your
Right.
room, like you said.
And honestly, you can get a lot of good healthy ones just at IKEA or Home Depot. I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of good plants out there. You do kind of have to watch for little bugs that they can come in on, because a lot of times they've been so fertilized and chemically treated that they can withstand the bugs. But then you get them in their house and they start to they're not getting the fertilizer, which is, a chemical fertilizer is kind of like a steroid versus an organic fertilizer, which adds nutrients to the soil. So sometimes those bugs can take over and just kind of wipe them out when they're in your house. So it's not necessarily going to be your fault.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I like it. Those
so
are
what
pretty.
crystal did you bring today?
Okay, so you know me. I brought 3. That's a rhyme.
Yeah, you
Okay,
did right.
so I brought 3. It was very hard to decide because it depends on what you're doing with the business. So I'll just keep it brief. I brought jade, citrine, and pyrite. And we'll start with jade. That's just there's certain crystals that have a collective consciousness. In other words, no matter where they were popular, whether it was in, Mexico or in China or somewhere, in Europe, it doesn't matter. They had pretty much the same, people thought they did the same thing, even before they could Google it. They all thought, okay, this is what jade does. And jade comes in different colors, but the green jade is actually, there's 2 forms. It's jadeite and there's nephrite. And it's too complicated to go into on this podcast, but we're just going to talk about jade in general. But it's just a stone of good fortune. It's a stone of business. You'll see many accountants, many attorneys have this stone. It's not a throat chakra stone, and I didn't bring one because those can help with business too. If you're like Amazonite is great for writers, and actually Matt, Amazonite would be great for people in producing shows and things like that. So it depends on the business, but overall, it's a great business stone. Is jade. It's just because it's a stone of good fortune. And then I have citrine. And citrine it's known as a feel-good stone. So it's an uplifting stone. I would keep it in your car all the time. And I'd keep a little piece in your wallet all the time because it will help you have cash, and it really will. When you don't usually have the dollar
That's
bills
awesome.
and stuff, it does. So keep a little piece of citrine. The thing about citrine is citrine, it is a quartz, and almost always it has been heat treated. Sometimes it's amethyst that's heat treated and turned into citrine. So it's really interesting what they do with citrine. I have this piece here today. When they're a little more brown, that's probably a good chance that it's more of the natural color.
Oh, okay.
When they're really bright orange, like those really bright ones that are beautiful, because you want that, because it resonates with your sacral chakra and even your solar plexus. There's a good chance it's been heat treated, but that's okay because they're heat treated in the earth too. Crystals are pressed, and we've talked about that before. And so, but it's also known, I don't know if I said this, it's known, the citrine, as the merchant stone. So if you own a business, I would always keep that in your cash register, if you still have a cash register, or keep it up by where people check out. And we have it all over our store. I mean, just at different little points in our store. And it's just, it's a stone of good fortune also. But it also uplifts the mood and makes people want to spend the money. And then the last one I have is the pyrite. And I brought, if you can't see it, if you're watching, you can see this. It's a beautiful piece of pyrite that we have in the store. And then if you're listening, it's the one that it's called fool's gold. So it looks like gold in a way. And the lore goes that they would find this pyrite and mistake it for fool's gold. For gold. But really, it is an extremely good stone for business. For one thing, it's cubic in structure, the internal structure, which means very solid.
Nice.
So earlier, when you put your hand on it, because you were grounding, you knew intuitively. You intuitively just went straight to the one that was grounding because it's cubic internally. in the structure. So it's very firm and solid. And it's just very uplifting. And it looks like money, looks like gold. So it's known to be great for business.
It's a beautiful stone, this one that she has. And I was going to say the citrine. I have a lot of citrine around my house. And I've always called it the stone of prosperity.
Yes, I love that. Yes. Yeah. So a lot of these are prosperity and abundance, and the list could go on. Tiger's Eye is definitely included in there as also. But these three are a good little mojo bag. It makes a good, if you get a little jade, a little citrine, a little piece of pyrite, put a little dollar bill or $100 bill or $20 bill, whatever you want to put in there, and put it in a little green organza bag. That's a good little mojo bag to enhance your business.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. Cool. Well, so let's go ahead and look at our readings. Today, instead of the charms, we were going to use the crystals. So you're either going to select jade, citrine, or the pyrite. And I'm going to put the two citrines together and for anybody who's watching. And you want to just do 2 cards for each one?
2 for each?
Yeah.
Do we have time for that? Yeah, sure. We'll do that. Okay. I'm going to draw 2 right now for the jade.
Okay. I'm going to get 2 for the citrine, and you get the pyrite.
And here we go there's 1 for the pyrite.
Mm-hmm.
And 2nd for the pyrite. And I got them.
Okay.
And these cards are, Megan?
This is oh gosh, you asked me. And
they're Rider-Waite.
Right. It's called is it the Illuminated Tarot? I believe so.
I think you told me that before.
And it was initial Rider-Waite that this artist repainted in New York, and it's just beautifully done. It's so vibrant and really user-friendly. I always called it my party deck. Okay, go ahead.
So for the jade, if you picked jade, now keeping in mind that all the stones are good for enhancing your business. So I'm not going to really read the stones because I'm prone to do that. We're just going to read the cards. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Or we can read the stones.
You can correlate it with the jade, though.
I'll do it because I can't help it usually. Jade is, here's what I'm seeing with this first one. It's the 10 of Swords and the 9 of Pentacles. And I feel like that someone, if you pick this jade, that you are afraid to go into business for yourself, potentially, or change of business because of what has happened to you in the past, that you really feel that you have really been through it, and it's okay that you are going to come out, if you will kind of just go for something. It feels like a little bit different, a little shift, and trust yourself a little bit more instead of trusting what everyone else around you is doing. You need to do what's right for you independently.
And I'm also feeling with that you've accomplished everything that you've needed to kind of in your current position. So if you want to grow and evolve, it is time to invest in yourself and to take some joy and trust into that. So that feels really positive to me.
Right, it does. And evolve, I think, is a big word with that, is to evolve. Yeah. So now we've got this beautiful. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead to the
second
pyrite.
one is the pyrite, and I tend to think of that cubic structure of the pyrite that we spoke about. And we have the Empress, the major arcana, the Empress, and then we have the 7 of Cups. Now here I'm going to say that I would like you to consider really thinking through what you're going to do. Really put some parameters around it. On this one, I don't feel as though you should just jump. I feel like there needs to be a little more structure, maybe a business plan in place before you just jump into whatever you think. Oh, pie in the sky, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to all over the place. I really think you need to cull it down and bring it back to really being grounded.
Okay.
In what you're going to do.
That's interesting. And, to me, that's the difference of bringing the pyrite into the reading, because I was going, oh my gosh, go for the stars. But actually, when I the Empress, she is representative of Mother Earth, and that is about being grounded. But it's also about leadership and with that feminine energy. So it's very kind, it's very gentle, but she knows how to tell you what to do, how to dictate. And so you bring that pyrite in there, which is real blingy, and Empress is going to love that bling too. I feel like that you need to have a super solid foundation, but don't be afraid to dream big about the direction it can go. But you just need to know what your base is and be really firm and know that whatever decision you make, it's going to be reinforcing that whole base and stable point that you're leaping off of. So
I agree totally. I think the reading is the same. It's just how we get there.
Right.
It's just to make sure that we have that grounded, that pivotal point, that diving board, just to make sure that's very structured before.
Right.
And then once you go for it, wow, the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Okay, and let's look at our citrine here. So we have 10 of Pentacles and Knight of Wands. And just kind of interesting that with all the cards, we had 7, 9s, and 10s. So, really like the idea of closure and completion, and also really including people in these images. So if you pick the citrine, go ahead.
Okay, so if you pick the citrine, for me, it feels like you have really, it feels almost like this is very specific for someone listening. It feels almost like you have some money that you want to invest. It may be even something family oriented, and you're ready to charge ahead with it. And I'm going to say yes. It feels just very positive to go ahead. But again, we're going to always say be, thoughtful and mindful with what you do. But I believe the citrine is just saying, take this and invest it well and charge ahead. It seems specific for maybe a couple of specific listeners. Broadly, I would say maybe Megan has something more broadly to say for everyone listening.
Well, and I was kind of tying in on the specificness of it too. And what I was seeing is that the company is really solid. It is time and ready for growth. I feel like there might be someone who can come in that can assist in the growth of this company or be a good complement. So if you're at a point, if you pick the citrine and you're thinking about hiring someone, I really think you can find that right person right now. So
Very good. That just hit me. I agree with that totally. And that fire, because that's that citrine, and that person is going to come in and maybe even infuse some life into
yeah,
this.
absolutely. That it feels really positive to me.
Yeah.
So
all of them seem pretty positive today. Yeah, for business. And I do think a lot of that is how you look at it and how you look at what you're going for in your business.
Yeah, and interesting, we didn't get any reversals today, so either.
This one, only this one felt energetically to me when I
did
read it
okay.
a little bit. That's why I think we got a little difference, but it came out the same on the Seven of Cups. Yeah. But yeah, interesting.
So
I love
cool.
these cards, by the way.
Really great deck. I will look into that artist for you guys, and we can post it next week, so you'll have it.
Love that deck. And one more thing, and I know we're over time, but I just wanted to say, Megan and I both are available for these types of readings. We're both very accomplished and handle probably anything from somebody just starting out in business to large companies and mergers and things like that. So both of us are available for those types of readings if you're interested.
Yep.
Yeah.
So very cool.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, we are coming to the end of our show today, so we want to thank you for joining us. And if you haven't reviewed us yet and you have some good thoughts, please do so. Give us a review. Write down a note for us if you have any feedback. And remember to subscribe for any future episodes, or all future episodes, I should say.
All of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us. Have a good day.